Hey, just back again from the front porch, and look what the UPS got. It is a Telos VX Duo VoIP talk show system, and that's just what I need. I've got a studio here with an Axia Altus up and running, and we're going to add some telephone capability to that studio. All digital, all VoIP, all over Livewire as well. So let's check it out now. Here in my studio, we've already got an Axia Altus SE. We've set that up in a couple previous videos, did an unboxing and showed you how to configure it. Now we've got this Telos VX Duo. Well, inside, it's almost exactly like the Altus SE. In fact, physically, I guess it is the same. We have in this bag a Telos VX Duo. There you go. A power supply and an IEC power cord. And let's have a look at the back of and the front of the Telos VX Duo. So on the front, there's a power button. There's a couple of lights, one for power and one for disk activity. And then over here, there are a couple of USB ports. You won't use these USB ports at all, except for during the initial setup. That's one way to set the IP address. Over on the back, we have a video connector. This one happens to be VGA. We have 4 network interfaces on the back and also the power connector. That's where our power supply will connect up. Remember, the Telos VX Duo is a networked phone system, and that means you can install it in the studio where you're going to use it, or you can also install it in the studio and use it from other studios as well. Or you can put it in a common wiring area, like a rack room, and use it across several studios. As a default, the VX Duo comes with 2 telephone hybrids, and it'll handle dozens of incoming phone lines, but it'll give you 2 hybrids. If you want to use more hybrids, you can license up to 8 hybrids in total on the Telos VX Duo. But first, we need to set the IP address for both networks, both for the audio over IP network and for our business network, where it's going to find a SIP PBX for the phone lines. So let's see about hooking this up to power and to a keyboard and monitor. Let's get started with the Quick Start Guide, and right now on this little Windows computer, I've got a browser screen up showing my Altus SE. I'm going to hit F11 to get out of full screen for that and just open another browser tab. And we're going to go to support.telosalliance.com. There we go. And we can type a plain language question into here. We'll do it, how about VX Duo? I think we can abbreviate that as QSG for Quick Start Guide. There it is, Telos VX Duo QSG Quick Start Guide. And here we have the Quick Start Guide. And this explains all about how to get started. Mostly it's setting IP addresses and identifying what's what in the VX Duo. So let's hook things up. Here's our VGA connection that will hook up. And now let's get some keyboard plugged in. There's a couple of ports on the front. Doesn't matter which one, just plug it in. And when you plug the power in, power light might flicker once or twice, and then the disk drive light will flicker once or twice and then come on. Again, normally you would not at all have any screen connected to it, but to set the IP addresses, we certainly will. It all boots up into Linux, and here we have the menu to set the IP address and a couple other things. There are 4 options on the menu, and the first one is to set the IP address for the AOIP interface. So I'm going to select that one. I'm going to erase the IP address that's there and type in 10.216.0.15. That's what I want here at my studio. Now for the WAN interface, this is the network that's going to see the SIP PBX, whether it's on site or in the cloud. So this is probably your business network. Well, we do want to enable the WAN in my case, and in most cases, we ship it with the WAN interface off by default. But here we're going to enable this. And for my IP address, there's the default IP address, but I'm going to change it to an IP address that is going to work on my network, 192.168.0.15. You may notice I like to make the last octet the same for both networks to help me identify which piece of equipment that it is. A little reminder there. And the net mask is just fine there. So let's hit enter, and now we've set that address for the WAN interface. For the gateway and DNS, let's put a new gateway address in here. That's going to be for me 192.168.0.1. And for DNS, I'm happy with the defaults there, quadruple eights or the open DNS address, and we'll hit OK. We're going to apply these changes and reboot. When it comes back up, it will be on the network when I plug the network cables in. It so happens that I already have these running to their respective networks. The black cable goes to my audio over IP network, and the white cable goes to my business network. So let's plug these in. We'll plug in the business network where it will find the internet and the gateway, and the AOIP network where it will find the rest of the Axia devices that are on the network. And so now we have that plugged in and ready to go. Now this screen, we no longer need this whatsoever. We can unplug the VGA and the USB, because now the rest of the time we're going to access the Telos VX Duo only by a browser or with the equipment like the VSETs or other controllers. Once you've set the IP addresses and you've rebooted the system, it's important that you get the right cable into the right jack. Good news, the Quick Start Guide tells us exactly how to do that. Here we indicate that on this drawing, port B is the WAN port. So you want to put your WAN cable into that. That goes to the rest of your business network typically. It's the network that's going to have access to your SIP PBX, where your phone lines come from. Port C on this diagram, which is shown as the second network interface, is for the AOIP network. So you want to make sure you plug your cables into the correct network jack. Now, what do we do next? Well, let's browse into the VX Duo so we can take a look at its configuration in more detail than just setting the IP address we did before. So let's open a tab, and it turns out that when you first configure this, the only interface that will give you a web GUI is indeed the AOIP interface. So we need to open a browser that is on that network and go into that network. And remember, that was 10.216.0.15 on my system. It may be different on your system, depending on how you set up your AOIP network. But I'm going to browse into that. There it is. I'm going to browse into that on the AOIP network using the AOIP interface. And if we go to here, we see the configuration information for the network interfaces, and look, they're all correct as to what I said earlier. The IP address for the AOIP network is correct. For the IP WAN interface, that's correct. The net mask and the gateway and the DNS, they're all what I said earlier. Look a little farther down and you can see where it says WAN services, HTTP on port 8080, and it is not enabled. That means that if we tried to browse into this from the WAN interface, we wouldn't get anything, even if we specified the other port that is specified here, 8080. So we've got to hit enable right there. And now enable turns to disable, so it's enabled. And that means that now we can browse into the VX from the business network. You may or may not want to do that. That's up to you if you feel like you need to disallow any browsing into the phone system from the business network. And also, if you want to have your VSETs on the business network, which you can do, you'll need to enable these other ones as well, the LWCP and maybe the SSH if you want to have secure browsing. All right, so that's enough right there. Now, if we go open a browser tab, and on our business network, we go to 192.168.0.15. And remember, there's a different port number for this interface. It's port, so :8080, and we hit enter, and there we are. Now we are browsed into the VX configuration interface from the web GUI using the business network interface. So you can get to it either way, up to you, as if you want to disallow the web interface from the business network or not. We have now set up the IP addresses. We have set up browsing on either network if you want to do that. And in our next video, we're going to look at actually configuring how to make phone lines come in and how to make calls get to your audio consoles.